Hello, this is Roy Moore, and today I'm going to take you on a little tutorial to show you how to perform a vertical lookup in Excel, or how to get your junk from one spreadsheet onto another spreadsheet when you have hundreds or thousands of records to comb through to compare and match up without losing your mind. Let's jump on in. Okay, so here's the scenario. We have two spreadsheets with overlapping but not identical information. This one has a first name, last name, an ID number. This one has a name field and a phone number. Fortunately, they both have an email field that we can use as a unique identifier to match the records between the two spreadsheets. I also know that they're not identical because this one has over 100 entries and this one has just over 90. So we can't just sort the emails alphabetically and then copy and paste over. That wouldn't work, and we'd have dirty data in no time flat. So instead, we're going to do something called a vertical lookup, because what I want to happen is I want in column E, I want the phone number for any folks that happen to be on both sheets to show up here. So I'm going to pop in a formula, and after it's done, I'll show you that it works, and then I'll explain the pieces of it. Okay. So Kyla Ainsworth's phone number apparently is 432-1240. We can actually check this sheet is organized alphabetically by email. So if we go down to the K's, here it is. Yep, Kyla Ainsworth, 1240. Okay, so how did that work? What did Excel do with that formula to get the right information into that field? And how do we get that information to populate down the rest of this sheet? First, let's take a look at the formula. So the formula says equals VLOOKUP, open parentheses, C2, comma. Okay, this first item after the beginning of the parentheses is called the lookup value. The lookup value is what am I looking for? Excel is saying, what am I looking for? And we're saying, Excel, you're looking for C2. You're looking for Kyla Ainsworth at fake.com. And then we put a comma. And then Excel says, okay, where am I looking for it? The table array is where am I looking? And I went over and I highlighted columns B and C of the other spreadsheet, and it dropped this in, list 2, sheet 1, columns B and C. And then another comma. Now you might be thinking, why the C? Why not just B? Because I know the answer is not in C, I know the answer is in B. You have to include the response fields in the array. And then I'll go ahead and take you to the next thing, column index number. The index column says, okay, from where I find the data that I was looking for, how far over to the right do I need to go to get the response data that you're looking for? If it's in the cell immediately to the right of the found data, then it's 2. If the phone number were in column E, for example, then the equation would be look in list 2, sheet 1, B through E, and the number would be 4 instead of 2, because the email column would be 1, C would be 2, D would be 3, and the phone number field would be 4. I hope that makes sense. Then you put another comma, and then the last thing in the equation is the range lookup. Here you either put true or false. False means that it has to be an exact match. It can't be a partial match. So I don't want Kyla.Ainsworth at fake.com. That would not be good enough. It has to be an exact match. So false. I've never used true. I'm not exactly sure what the use case is for true. If you know, feel free to share it with me. But for all the normal people, always put false. And that's how you get that answer. Now what about all the hundreds or thousands or hundreds of thousands of rows beneath the answer? Do you have to enter this equation over and over again for each of these? No, you don't. What you do is you click on the cell with the vertical lookup formula in it, and you put your cursor over the bottom right hand corner and get this black plus, and then you double click. And Excel has intuited that I want to use that equation over and over again for the cell in the same relative position as the one above it. So if E2 was curious about C2, then Excel has correctly deduced that for E3 I must care about C3, and for E4 I must care about C4, and so on and so forth. Now you see this NA here? That NA is because Excel looked for C7, it looked for Junie Bats at fake.com in this list and did not find it. Again, this list is already sorted alphabetically by email, so if we go down to the J's, Yep, it's not there. No Junie bats here. So it didn't find it, so it couldn't return anything, and therefore NA. Now we're almost done. One last thing I need to show you, that if you were to think, okay, well now this list is better because it has the ID and the phone number, and the name's also first and last, so that's more useful to me. So I'm going to delete this spreadsheet, right? And you come over here and you delete this. Or let's say you don't even delete it. Let's say you emailed this list to someone else, but you don't email this one. Well, what's going to happen in either case where you delete the spreadsheet or separate list 1 from list 2 is the phone number is now gone. The phone number is gone because the equation is still looking in list 2 sheet 1 columns B and C, but there's no data there. So it's not finding it, so it's all NA. So let's undo what I just did. And the way you keep this data and you separate it, make it independent of this spreadsheet, is convert this formula into the value. So you highlight column E, right click, copy, right click again, paste special, values, okay. That's a super handy trick, by the way. What that did was it got rid of the formula, and now you have the product of the formula. So you see how this no longer says equals VLOOKUP C2 comma list 2 sheet BC to false. Now it says the number, the product. And now if this sheet goes away, this sheet is fine because it's no longer dependent on that sheet. So now this sheet can be used in an upload, or you can email it, or you can delete the other sheets, and this sheet will stay intact. That is the vertical lookup process. I'll show it to you one more time on this list by adding the ID from the first list. Equals VLOOKUP. Look for this email address in B2. In columns C and D, comma, and if you find it, then whatever is in the to position in the column right next to it, drop it in, and by the way, it has to be an exact match. Black plus sign, double click, highlight the cell, copy, highlight the cell, paste special, values, okay. And there you have it. I added the phone number over here, and I added the ID over here. So either of these lists are now more helpful than they were before. I hope you found this helpful as you take your segmented data and reconcile it into more useful information. Blessings on your endeavors, and bye-bye.